Hello, we are back with the History Channel's special preview of the anthropogenic influences of the lower Great Lakes Basin. Human influence has had a profound effect on this aquatic ecosystem. The entire quality has been threatened. Plant and animal populations have died as a result. By Jake McEvoy and John Bricker. We see here a beautiful image from space of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, which constitute the lower Great Lakes Basin. But don't be fooled, this aquatic region did not always appear this healthy. In the late 60s and early 70s, Lake Erie was considered a dead lake. This was brought on by a process known as eutrophication. But what is eutrophication, you might ask? Eutrophication is the process of a body of water receiving excess amounts of nutrients such as phosphorus and nitrogen. When severe eutrophication occurs, like it did in the lower Great Lakes Basin decades ago, we can see increases in algal growth and decreases in oxygen levels.
What causes eutrophication?
There are three main contributors that have affected the lower Great Lakes Basin through eutrophication. Agricultural runoff is the biggest contributor to eutrophication. The fertilizers that farmers use to grow their crops contain phosphates and nitrates. The lower Great Lakes Basin is surrounded by a large agricultural industry. Although it is no longer added, phosphorus used to be a component of laundry detergents. With that in mind, all those detergents had to go somewhere. They left people's homes as wastewater, and due to the improper wastewater management and treatment that occurred decades ago, this water would end up going back into the water source untreated with an overflow.
What are the environmental effects of these contributors?
As the exceeding nutrients bring the lake to a eutrophic state, large stinky green algae blooms appear. The algae thrive when nutrients are highly available, although they are short-lived. Due to their short lifespans, algae blooms also produce a lot of dead organic material. The dead algae utilize a lot of the dissolved oxygen present in the lake as they decay. Fish and aquatic plant life require this oxygen to stay alive. They will die if there is insufficient amounts, which can result in mass fish kills. Happy, healthy fish plus eutrophication equals dead fish that was living without a sufficient dissolved oxygen concentration. Eutrophication has an effect on the thermal stratification of the lake. A process known as thermal stratification occurs in lakes such as Erie and Ontario. This process controls many variables. These variables include dissolved oxygen levels, temperature, and light level. With large algal blooms, it is harder for light to penetrate the water, slowing down the process of thermal stratification and further threatening the ecosystem. Bioaccumulation is the accumulation of chemical toxins within a living organism. This has been an issue for Lake Ontario and Lake Erie, especially dealing with mercury levels in fish. Certain chemicals that are found in medicine, fire extinguishers, and contaminated groundwater are becoming dissolved and are pressing threats towards this aquatic ecosystem. Due to aquatic plant loss, increased sedimentation, and urban development, the coastal regions are slowly becoming degraded. Due to human activity, the invasive species called zebra mussels was accidentally introduced and their populations exploded. The mussels are filter feeders and feed on large quantities of phytoplankton. This process affects the food web significantly and alters the trophic state of the entire lake. We need to respect and take care of this precious ecosystem that supports 13 million people. A Jake McEvoy and John Bricker production.